Greetings and salutations, people of the internet. Austin here. Welcome to the hopeful beginning of a new series on the channel, Fakemon Specials. The idea of this series is to do one-off or a mini-series of videos covering a specific topic that's unconnected to any of my other Fakemon regions. These would have a lot more freedom than my standard affairs, not being bogged down trying to make them fit with tight balancing or anything else like that. For this first special, I thought it would be fitting to combine two of my favorite video game franchises, Pokemon and Darksiders. With Darksiders 4 now on the horizon, this felt like the perfect opportunity to do this. For those unaware, Darksiders is a series of video games following the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse: War, Death, Fury, and Strife. They're tasked by their boss, the Charred Council, to oversee the balance between heaven, hell, and humanity. When the apocalypse comes early, a grand conspiracy has to be unveiled, one that threatens to throw the entire balance out of whack. I love this series. Each entry does something a little bit different while still keeping the overall Metroidvania style of exploration at its core, for the most part. Today, I'm going to be turning our titular horsemen into a quartet of legendary fighting-type Pokemon. If you like today's video and want to see more of this kind of content, I need you to leave a like. If this reaches 25 likes within a month, I will do more. I just need to know it's worth my time. Without further ado, let's begin. Naturally, we'll start off with the first of the horsemen we take the reins of in the first entry of the series, War. He is a blunt instrument of destruction on a path to clear his names during the events of the first game. But he is also the most honorable of the horsemen. When I was planning out the horsemen, War gave me the toughest time. I went back and forth on what animal to model War around. The first choice being a gorilla. That didn't work since I couldn't bring his sword Chaos Eater into the design naturally. Then I thought about a bull, bringing in the design elements from his Chaos forms, potentially turning the horns into two Chaos Eaters. It wasn't until someone suggested a rhino that everything clicked for the design. With an animal in mind, the rest came easy, and Crusader, the Doomsday Pokemon, was born. I tried to bring in as many elements from War's design into this without all of the intricate details of the armor overcluttering it. Naturally, Chaos Eater being the horn was the central design element of the Pokemon. Everything else was just modeled around it. I had to really simplify his sword, only using one of the faces across the blade and giving it a loose rib cage pattern along the bottom. I combined the hair and his hood when I was designing the head, just having the two strands of hair framing the face. The back was designed around his cloak and shawl, not sure what the more accurate term is there. I designed that front leg to look like his special gauntlet / artificial arm, though I added the glow effect to the other legs as well for a more overall cohesive design. The back is supposed to resemble his waist armor and to just help break up the colors. Naturally, I had to bring in his giant, overcompensating pauldron, although heavily simplified. I modeled the tail to look like Chaos Eater's handle, and I thought it just made for a fun design element overall. All of these Pokemon share Doomsday Pact for the ability, drawing on their brotherhood and unity as the Horsemen. Moxie felt like the perfect hidden ability for this Pokemon, considering War does get stronger with gear every time he takes down a boss in the game. This was a solid start to the video. If you haven't noticed, since there are few entries in this video, I'm going to try and yap a lot more about each one of them, but I'll still be shocked if this makes 20 minutes. The leader of the Horsemen and their most powerful member, Death is a snarky bastard haunted by his past decisions and choices for the future. Death was the easiest of the Horsemen to conceptualize as a Pokemon. I knew I wanted to make Death into a crow Pokemon, both to reference the crow symbology with death in certain cultures, and Death's relationship with the Crow Father in Darksiders 2. So without further ado, I present Corv Requiem, the Doomsday Pokemon. The Scythe wings were always going to be the focal point of the design. I did briefly consider making them out of bone, like they are in Death's Super/Reaper form, but I thought having the blades be flanked by ectoplasmic dark feathers looked cooler. Naturally, I had to model the face after a crow's skull alongside Death's masks, the hood around it being influenced by his luscious, probably oily hair. Pattern on the chest and the scythe blades are a reference to the souls of the Nephilim trapped within Death's body, and as a means to break up the color and keep the glowing sections of the body motif going. The skull thighs are there to reference his kneecap armor, and just to look cool, I'm not gonna lie. The blue across the body is mainly to reference his skin tone, albeit a much darker shade of blue, and it made for a good way for more contrast with the rest of the color scheme. I brought back Soul Commandments as I knew Death was going to need a good ability, and adaptability felt a little too strong for this Pokemon. This isn't as densely detailed as Crusader, but I think it works well enough. Beauty and simplicity and all that. The third member of the Horsemen, and once the most arrogant of the lot. She sought out glory and power, but ended up finding humility and purpose. It did take me a minute to settle on the animal basis for her design, but I ended up going with the Cobra. Fury was selfish and glory-hungry at the beginning of the game, and was willing to do a lot to get it. She was the easiest of the Horsemen to design considering how comparatively simplistic her design is. So, I present Pompent, the Doomsday Pokemon. Her hair and hood had to be redone a few times to get the correct amount of bounciness and the flowy motion implied. Her facial markings were pretty easy to convert over here while not overcomplicating the face. I knew going into this that I wanted to make her whip into a long tail. It seemed like the perfect fit, and it was. The tail took me 3 tries to get it to this level, giving the tail more of a curve and keeping the segments more consistent size-wise. If you're wondering about the 4 orbs on the chest, they are representing the 4 different hollows she gets throughout the game. Hollows are unique elemental powers that enabled Fury to traverse the world easier and unlock new abilities. I used the colors of each hollow as a part of the color scheme, and I made the hidden ability Protean to reference her usage of the powers. She was overall pretty fun to design around, definitely the easiest to work on. The final member of the Horsemen, he is the most enigmatic of the 4, going where he's needed and trying to help wherever he can. TLDR. I haven't had the chance to play Darksiders Genesis, so I do not know the full extent of his personality outside of what little we get in Darksiders 3. Strife easily gave me the most trouble of the 4, only rivaled by War. During initial development, I wanted to base the design off of a scorpion, with each claw being one of his signature pistols. Unfortunately, none of them looked as good as I wanted them to. I tried a few times, but I just wasn't happy with it. So I switched gears and I made him a lizard, going off of his slimmer build and more slippery nature. Rounding off our quartet, we have Strife, the Doomsday Pokemon. I mainly modeled the body off of his Anarchy form, which is sick as hell looking, by the by. I toned down the amount of guns on the design to just the tail. I figured that made for a more simplistic design and still got the point across. I modeled the back and legs off of Strife's basic armor, though simplified like with the rest of the Horsemen. Their designs are so intricate if you take the time to look at them. I decided to give it a third eye to make it look more unique and to play off of the decorations on Strife's mask. The only real color I locked down first was the purple to reference his scarf, and I just thought it looked pretty. So I basically built the color scheme around it. This has the least amount of glowing sections on the body, mainly since he's the stealthy one of the quartet, and I just didn't want to overcomplicate the design. Despite the hell he gave me, I am very happy with how he looks, and I think each one, when combined, make for a very strong quartet. Alright, that concludes what I hope is the first of many Fakemon specials to come on the channel. I am serious when I say if you want to see more videos like this, you gotta hit that like goal so I know this is worth my time. I have a few more videos planned in case this works. Even breaking down the next 2 Darksiders videos, if that piques your interest. If you have suggestions, throw them down below and I'll consider them if I think I can make it work. If you liked today's video, please like and subscribe, hitting the bell to make sure you stay up to date for all future uploads. Down below, what was your favorite member of the quartet, and any potential ideas for future Fakemon specials. Next time, we're going to do another region roast as we head back to the OG version of the Text-Skin region and rip it to shreds. This is Austin, signing out.